From our example, we have identified the following classes: department, supervisor, employee, and a project. And for the primary keys, for the department, we have a department name as a primary key. We have supervisor number as a primary key for the supervisor. We have employee number as a primary key for the employee class. We have a project number as a primary key for the project class. Going back to our rough sketch for class diagram, we have identified composite or bridging classes between employee and department, where there is a many-to-many relationship, and also between the employee and project, where there's also a many-to-many relationship. Then we need to create a bridge or a composite class between employee and department, and also between employee and project, in order for us to resolve a many-to-many relationship by breaking it into one-to-many relationship and one-to-many relationship on the other side. We cannot have this relationship in our database. Therefore, we need a bridging or composite class between department and employee. The best way is to create a class which will combine both names, department and employee. The same applies for employee and project. Let's have a bridge which will combine both two classes names, an employee and a project. The next step is to identify other attributes. So apart from the primary key, for each and every class, we may have other attributes. For instance, if you are looking at the organization that you are assisting when it comes to the assignment, and you take one form, let's say a membership form, you'll find that a membership number can be our primary key, and all other attributes like membership name, membership's address, membership's contact details, and other attributes, we will need to map all of them within our class. So after you have mapped all the attributes for each and every class, then we can draw another diagram. But at this time, we need to make sure that we have resolved the many-to-many relationships, if any. Let's go back to our example. From our example, we have identified 4 classes: department, employee, supervisor, and the project. And the attributes, based on the business rules that were given to us, we have the department name as a primary key for the department class, employee number as a primary key for the employee class, supervisor number. We have a project number also as a primary key for the project. After mapping all the attributes and resolving the many-to-many relationships, remember we started with the department class, supervisor class, employee, and the project, and we had a many-to-many relationship between the department and the employee, which we are trying to resolve by creating a bridging or composite class, in which we will call it employee department. That is the easiest way, where you combine both names. So our primary key for department is department name. But for the bridge, where we are bridging department and employee, our primary keys will be the primary keys of the 2 classes we are bridging, and that is the department name becomes our primary key, the employee number becomes our primary key, And now we need to look at the multiplicity again. The arrow of the relationship, or the direction of the relationship, will always point towards the many relationship or many multiplicity. Remember, we are trying to break or resolve many to many relationship, which is many to many relationship, into one to many and one to many. That means from the classes that we are trying to bridge, by the end it will always be one to one, same as the department, it will always be one to one, and by the employee side will always be one to one, and then this will be our multiplicity based on our business rules. And when that happens, the direction of the relationship will always point towards the many, and that means there has to be a foreign key, which is the primary key from the foreign table. This is why the department name then becomes a primary key and a foreign key, because the arrow is pointing towards this direction where there is a many. Same applies to the employee. An employee number was the primary key. The arrow is pointing towards the many, meaning there needs to be a foreign key, which is also the employee number. Then we move towards employee and project. We had many to many, which we resolved by breaking into one to many relationship and one to many relationship. Employee project became our composite or our bridge. And for that composite, the primary key will be the primary key or primary keys of the two classes that we are bridging. In this case, employee number becomes the primary key and the project number becomes the primary key. And then the arrows will always point towards the many relationship, meaning there has to be a foreign key, which is a primary key from the foreign table. That is why the employee number then becomes primary key and a foreign key in that bridging class or composite class. Same applies for the project. It then becomes the primary key and foreign key, which is the reason why the direction of our relationship will always point towards the bridging class. This is our fully completed class diagram. So in order for you to interpret this, a department is run by one supervisor. A supervisor can only run one department at a time. So one can ask yourself, why do we have department name as a foreign key? Remember, a foreign key is used to link two tables. So even if you have one-to-one relationship in both sides, we need to look at in which side of the class is expected to have more than one occurrence. In this case, the department and the supervisor. The department will always remain the same, but supervisors can come and go due to whichever reasons. Either they resign or they're fired, or unfortunately they're no longer with us. Therefore, it is much better and easier for us to have our supervisor table showing which department were they working for. That means it is most likely to occur than not that we will have more than one supervisor working for one department. Once you are done with that, you can just make sure that the diagram is fine. There's no many to many relationships. It's always one to many, or we have already resolved all the many to many relationships. Once that is done, then that means we are done with our diagram. Don't forget, there might be other attributes that need to be added to our diagram for each and every class, but that information will be given, or you'll be advised when it comes to which are other attributes that need to be added according to the business rules. Let's look at this example. You're asked to draw a complete class diagram for the following business rules. A traffic policeman is a kind of a policeman. A traffic policeman can issue more than one traffic report. Each report is issued by one traffic policeman. A traffic police report consists of many reports of violation, at least one. Each violation is part of a traffic report. A violation can exist even if a report is not issued. A single traffic report can only be issued to one offender, and an offender can be in more than one traffic report. So if we are following all those steps to draw a complete class diagram, we have a traffic policeman who is a kind of a policeman. A policeman then becomes a parent, and a traffic policeman becomes a child. This is a superclass, this is a subclass. And if we go back to generalization, we use this symbol, and the child or a subclass will inherit the attributes of the superclass. This is why the traffic policeman has a primary key, which is police ID number, which is the same as the policeman. So now going back to the business rules, a policeman or a traffic policeman issues one to many traffic reports, but each traffic report is linked to one traffic policeman that created it. A traffic report is a report of one to many violations. Each violation is part of the traffic report. And using this symbol, which is aggregation, it means that even if there is no traffic report issued, we can still have a violation. So violation number, which is a primary key, is a unique identifier of any violation. The reason why we have a report number as a foreign key here is because we have a many relationship, which is one to many, meaning traffic reports can be reports of one to many or more than one violations. And this is why the arrow is pointing towards the violation. The aggregation part, again, it is violation is part of a traffic report. And these two, they have separate lifespan, meaning the violation does not only depend on the traffic report, and that also means a violation can still exist without having a traffic report. Moving towards this side, a traffic report is issued to one offender. Offender ID or offend ID is our primary key, but one offender can be issued more than one traffic report, which gives us a one-to-many relationship. Then the arrow will always point towards the many relationship, and that means we should have a foreign key, which is a primary key in the foreign table. Hence, we have offend ID as a foreign key. This is our complete diagram for our example. Please go to your slides and work on this example and the one after this one. Solutions are